Hey, welcome to Bible Tech 401 lesson, 5, second part of my Markdown, evangelism for you. I really want to see a lot more people using Markdown. I just love it. I want to give you some of the advantages of using Markdown, and along the way give you some practical tips on how to use it, but I can't give a full tutorial on how to use these tools. That would be an entire course by itself, and YouTube already has plenty of this. You can go online as well and find Markdown syntax out the kazoo. I'm showing you how to use what I use so that you will consider jumping in for yourself. That's really all I can do in the time that I have allotted. I will intersperse some mention of other Markdown syntax that I haven't already taught, the basic syntax. You've already got most of it if you watch the previous lesson, but you'll get a little bit more here that I use. I don't use all the syntax. You might use more of it than I do. Obviously, that would be totally fine. Let me just show you some of the advantages of Markdown. This is where I keep all of my writing, Obsidian, and that would be the next lesson. I've tried multiple apps. I have never been happier, and I have a feeling I'll be in Obsidian for a long time. There is a large number of dedicated users, and it's very extensible, and it is free. But I pay $5 a month or so to have them sync my files because it's all backed up, and it's incredibly useful for me to have access to all of my writing and a ton of the articles I save just anywhere I go. That's really, really valuable. Searchable, it's just fantastic. This is a standard Markdown document. You don't actually see the Markdown syntax unless I hit a keyboard shortcut, which is, there we go, Command E. This is a script I wrote some time ago. For me, I just put in the title the category it's in and the number it has. This is the general category of YouTube scripts, and it's number 25, and it's been up on my channel for a couple years now. But I keep it here because it's really useful for me to refer back to stuff I've already written, and it's super searchable if I haven't already mentioned that. If I click on a line, you can see the Markdown syntax there that I already taught you. A piece of syntax that I did not teach is links, and this is one neat thing about Markdown and good Markdown apps. You can see that this is a link, but when you see it in plain text, it's actually, no, that's not a good example. So it goes something like this. Plain text here. If you surround some text in brackets that you want to be a link, and then you immediately follow it by regular parentheses and then put a URL in there, then it will end up looking like this, but it's hard-coded. So it's actually there in the plain text, and you can find and replace. And sometimes if there's a little error, I don't know, there's 2 parentheses at the end or something, somehow you can find and replace those. Some of the syntax I've already taught. You're seeing in here here's block quotes, for example. So there's my little greater than sign. This is really quite simple. And let me tell you why this is so valuable. This is not just a great way to write, but it's a great way to save articles. So if I go to my book notes, or where would I have those articles? I don't save them in here actually as often as I save other things, but I do definitely do that. Let me just show you some of my own articles, and just imagine that this is written, somewhere online, and I want to grab this and save it. I can convert it to HTML with this little Raycast extension, web page to Markdown. I can just toss a web page in there and grab the Markdown and toss it in here. So let's do that. One of the most recent articles I just grabbed and wanted to read was this one, What's New in Logos, April 2025. Don't have a chance to read this. Oh man, just some cool stuff I can do. Okay, grab the URL, right? Web page to Markdown in Raycast. It's converting the web page to Markdown as soon as it's done, and I do wish it were faster. I do not know why it takes this long. Come on. I have a feeling this is going to change over time. Once I get that Markdown, good, hit enter. I can easily stick it in Raycast. I can also, once I see, okay, let me just delete some of the stuff at the end. Let's say I just want to have it read to me. I can stick it in the Drafts app that I previously showed you, and now it's on my phone, and I can use the 11 Labs app that I really love to just read it to me really nicely with a great voice that's really easy to listen to. I can also save it here if I want to read it in the future, if I want to have it filed and tagged. I don't use the hashtags, but you can do that. I could do valuable articles, and I could do another hashtag, Logos instruction. I don't know. I can organize things in multiple ways in a city. And it makes the most sense for me to use the regular folder structure that I'm accustomed to in Mac OS X and Windows, but there are a lot of options for organization, and a lot of people use Obsidian with those hashtags to great effect. So I save articles. Something else that I can do as I go throughout my digital life. Let's see. The most recent book that I read on electronic devices was Hans Madweme and his book, not Madweme, Defending Sin. So I grabbed all my Kindle notes for it. I actually have a regular expression recipe in TextSoap that I think I'm going to plan to show you that converts the standard text that I get from the Kindle Highlights page and just makes it a little bit easier for me to read. So what I'll often do is I will grab all of my notes from a given book. These are all the things I highlighted in Hans Madweme's excellent book, Defending Sin. It is a fantastic way to format text quickly. So let me look at an article. Well, I'm going to give you a sneak peek. I want to write an article, possibly for TGC, called It's Time to Update the Creeds. It's past April 1st, and I am not done. I'm going to make that due date May 1st. We'll see. As I am writing, sometimes I will start by just tossing in the main headings for my article. So if I start a brand new article on something, point one, let's say rivers are nice, rivers are fast, rivers are wet. Those are my 3 points for my article, and I can start with an outline and then start typing stuff. I like to write lorem ipsum text, don't I? I can real quick grab block quotes and stick them in there. I have seen multiple people that I have a good reason to respect get in trouble for plagiarism, and one time in my academic career, my very first semester, I got charged with it. I was not ultimately guilty, and I was actually able to prove that I wasn't, but ever since then, and certainly after seeing some others suffer because of this, I have been deciduous. That was a very obscure joke. I mean assiduous in ascribing to certain sources the quotes that I save. And I will often just link straight from, say, Logos Bible software. I might have a ref.ly, code here, and I can click and go straight over to Logos. Or I might do something like this. I might put a parenthesis at the end, giving the page number, like the book and page number, how to think, 5, something like that, some way to show to myself later where I got a given block quote. I can do tables in Markdown, and actually what I found was recently I was reading an article that had some excellent tables. Unfortunately, it is not publishable. I cannot talk about this article because it was something someone else wrote internally for an organization I've been connected to, and it was fantastic, and I really wanted to get one table into my notes. So I actually took a screenshot of it with CleanShot, which is part of Set App, which is something I'll talk about in the course. I used the Raycast AI to OCR, optical character recognition, this text, and then to build a Markdown table out of it so that I could easily get it into another format. It was phenomenal, and it was so fast. I don't know what I would do without Markdown. In Markdown, I can comment out text. I forget exactly how I do that, so I'm going to have to go up to it's command / and then anything inside these percent symbols will not actually be recorded as part of the word and character count. So often I'll have extra material at the end of an article I'm writing, and I will put that in at the bottom. I'll even do something like this. I'll do unused text. So in the future, I can know why I had that at the bottom of the article. This is just the ideal tool for me as a writer. People grew up with pens and pencils, fine. They love fountain pens, fine. My friend Jacob Cerrone loves fountain pens. Shout out to him. He used to work with me at Logos. I have known writers who love typewriters, and that's Robert Caro. But for me, give me a computer and give me Markdown or give me death. I absolutely love it. Probably haven't said that enough. It's the best way for everything to be fast. Writing is faster here because nothing's getting in the way. I can open a new document so quickly. I can search documents so quickly. I can publish documents so quickly. And let me show you what that is like. One thing I can do is copy it to my clipboard and then use my convert to HTML tool in Raycast to convert it to HTML. Now I've got it. And actually, if you saw me do this in the previous lesson, one thing I really like to do is save this to my desktop. So if I save it as an HTML file to my desktop, then I can open that. I've searched and searched for ways to do this in Chrome, copy it, and paste it into Google Docs. They changed my shortcuts on me, and I am still really, really unhappy about that. I have to do now in Raycast things that I used to do with Google Chrome. It is actually going to be a lesson in this course. But that's the quickest way I've found to get texts almost perfectly cleanly right into Google Docs. Now there is an extension, actually. I could go Markdown to Google Docs, and I do use that as well. I can convert not only to HTML and then ultimately to Google Docs, but with the power of Markdown, I can export to PDF, and it is that fast. Bam, bam, bam. And now I have a nice PDF file. That has been massively useful for me. I can go to Word or to LaTeX or whatever that format is. Any format out there, Markdown can be converted to it. I can even go to plain text for YouTube transcription, and I've written a little script that allows me to do that. But basically what I'm doing is I'm finding and replacing every instance of the hashtags, and actually I'm taking out the headings because YouTube doesn't want that for the transcriptions. I'm removing commented out text, and I'm automatically turning block quotes into their own paragraph, but with quotes surrounding them. And then I'm removing the links from things. And now I can stick that right into my YouTube transcription. I have a little script that I've written in text to do this. Everything I find myself doing on a regular basis with text is facilitated by Markdown and regular expressions, which is a future lesson in this course. And just whetting your appetite for the kinds of things that you can do. I don't know how I could live and get all this stuff done if I didn't have all these little shortcuts. I want my computer to go fast for me. Obsidian and Markdown are the best way for me to have all my writing and all my notes in one place. And I'll be talking much more about Obsidian. I just love having all my writing inside Obsidian. I will show you a little bit about how I do my organization, but this way in the next lesson, but this way, all of my writing is synced and what could be better. And then the resources I'm using for my writing, excluding Logos and Kindle books and other things that like PDFs that can't easily be put into Obsidian, I'm gathering it all in Obsidian. This is the best way to future-proof because the other app that I have really liked over time for Markdown was Ulysses. And I have this book in here right now that a friend of mine was working on, and I wanted to export it to my Kindle, and he had it it wasn't in perfect formatting, so I stuck it in here to format it really quick. I would go back and forth between this and Visual Studio Code using regular expressions to find and replace stuff that wasn't quite right until I got a clean document that I could then export as a Word doc, or in this case, I went to EPUB so I could send it to my Kindle and read it, and I've been reading it, and it's a good thing. All the headings really help me get through it more quickly and understand what I'm reading rather than just feeling kind of lost in all the verbiage. That's really great. I like Ulysses, but if I use Ulysses to show me where this file is in Finder, I can't do it. It does exist somewhere, but it's a proprietary Ulysses file. So even though it's plain text in here, Ulysses has some stuff, I guess, that's baked into the file, and I don't know why. And when you don't do it that way, if you just have stuff in Dropbox, you can't use all the features of Ulysses. That was the way it was, at least the last time I checked. Whereas if I go to Obsidian and I look at my scripts here, and here's an article I wrote, or a little idea. Someone asked me a question, Mr. Ward, why has the ESV translated 1 Corinthians 11 with wife instead of women? Okay, so I came up with a title and grabbed a screenshot of BDAG, and I haven't written a single word here yet. But whether or not I start writing words, and I will go ahead and do that, there is an actual text file on my computer that I can find by, well, I should let you see. I can right-click and reveal in Finder. And I can show you. It's right here. There it is. So that MD suffix file extension is from Markdown, but it's just a plain text file. So I can open it with Visual Studio Code, and there it is right there. There is the syntax for an image. There's the syntax for the second image, and here's my Latin text. So if Obsidian dies, or if the communists take over, or whatever happens, some kind of conflagration in the world, nothing is certain. But text files are about as certain as it comes. There are so many quadrillions of text files out there that it's just not going to die. ASCII is not going to die as a format. And so this is relatively future-proof. I can also use the Mac Finder to grab files. Now, where did that one go? Gen 25, I think it was. Yeah, so I've already gotten through these and made videos from them. So actually, they need to go into the archive. So I can just drag and drop them into archive YouTube scripts. And there's my massive archive of YouTube scripts. And now when I come back to Obsidian, they're actually going to be there. So if I search for Gen 25, you can see it right there. It's in the archive now. It just syncs, immediately with my Finder. It's almost like it's an extension of my Finder app, or the equivalent of Windows Explorer. So my best friend has for many years used OneNote to organize his writing life, and I used that for my dissertation, and it was really good. It's definitely capable of taking in a bunch of information and making it very searchable, a bunch of different kinds of information, images and text and tables and audio. But Markdown can do all of that, and it kind of inclines me to turn as much of that stuff into plain text as possible, which I found to be healthy for me. It's then easier for me later as I want to go searching and using that material. And then I just felt like OneNote was too hefty a program. I got frustrated with the syncing. I felt like since it's non-linear, it's a pasteboard, you can stick stuff anywhere. I got kind of lost in it all. I like the simplicity of Markdown, and I love the speed. You gotta stick all your writing somewhere. If you have all your articles in separate Word documents, even if they're organized very carefully via folder, that's better than nothing. But you will have a hard time searching it all at once. How are you going to find stuff? I want to whip around very quickly. That's a major theme of my computer lifestyle. And Markdown is the way that I do it. I hope that all the little tips and tricks that I showed you, or just kind of, dangled before your eyes, are helpful to you, and that you will join me in this very lowercase, like subscript R religion called Markdown.